Hello, my name is Jason Arena, and welcome to another edition of the Live for Life podcast. This edition is going to basically start telling the story of when my wife got first diagnosed. We were living in North Providence, Rhode Island, and our journey to North Carolina while she was first dealing with early stage breast cancer. The year was 2014. That winter, we had decided that we were going to move from the north to basically the south. We were sick of the winter and the weather, and we basically just wanted to provide a better life for our children. So we decided that we were going to move. Set a bunch of job interviews. We decided on North Carolina, and we were either going to move to the Raleigh area or the Charlotte area. Honestly, it came down to the school. The school systems were much better here in the Charlotte area where we decided to move. I now live in Mooresville, North Carolina. Originally, I was only moving to the south all by myself. I was going to be here for approximately 3.5 months without the family to decide if this was the right place for us to move. I moved on St. Patrick's Day 2014. The kids had spring break. April. So about a month after I moved here, Marilyn, what a trooper, packed 3 kids in the car and drove the better part of 13 hours straight to come and see me when the kids were on spring break. And I couldn't wait for them to get here. I missed my family so much. I had never been away from my kids for that long, and it was just a hard process for me. Marilyn spent the week here. It was a hard process for the whole family. The kids had never been away from me. I had never been away from the kids. I didn't really know anybody in North Carolina. I moved here without knowing a single person. The only people that I really knew was the people that I worked with. And Marilyn came down in April, and she drove around for a week. She checked out all the schools. I was telling her every day. We were speaking on Skype every day. I was telling her about the area and how much I liked it and how nice the schools were and the price of houses, and everything was seeming to work out. She came down and visited for a week, and then about a month later, Memorial Day weekend, I flew back home to spend the weekend. But basically, we had decided at that point that we were going to move, and that was our going away party. We had a bunch of friends over, a bunch of family. This is Memorial Day weekend. Everybody knew this was a temporary move to start, and we were just testing the waters. We informed everybody that weekend. We had a big party. It was great. And then approximately 10 days later is when she got diagnosed with breast cancer. And the initial reaction when that happens, my initial reaction was, okay, I'm coming back home immediately. I'm going to tell my boss I need to leave, and I'm going to come back home, and we're going to figure this out, and then we'll decide if we still want to move and blah, blah, blah. Well, that happened every single day. Me and my wife I'm coming home, baby. This is too hard for you to deal with. And my wife would reassure me that she had it, and we didn't want this to change our plans. We wanted to move our family. We knew this was the right move for our kids. And we basically decided that we weren't going to let cancer change those plans. So every night it was, I'm coming home. And then by the end of our Skype conversation, it was, no, I have to stay. This is what's best for the family. And that's a hard thing to do every single day. And especially when, my wife was starting to go through chemotherapy, and she was just starting to appear more sick. And then she lost her hair, and she went through a lot. And I had amazing support from my friends and family. Her family, my family, our friends of ours stepped up to the plate. I can't repay them. I can never repay them for what they did for me. And that's basically why I'm the way that I am now, is because throughout this whole process, and I'll get back to the story in a second, but throughout this whole process, I've had support. My family has had support. Marilyn had support. We had support. I can't repay people for the support that I was given. The only thing that I can do is I can try to give back and try to create a positive change in somebody else's life, because the help that I received was a positive change in my family's life. Women and families dealing with metastatic breast cancer need support. And honestly, I don't know where I would be if I didn't have the support that we had. And I'm forever grateful. And hopefully, I can change a few people's lives for the better and help them deal with this a little easier, because it's honestly, it's unbearable. So, back to the moving. So originally, my family was supposed to move to North Carolina on the Fourth of July. Well, that changed. Basically, we didn't end up moving down here until beginning of November. Basically, on my wife's birthday is when we moved to North Carolina. When the family moved down to North Carolina, so it was an extended 4 months, because of her treatment and her surgeries, and then her treatment and surgeries were not finished yet. Honestly, the summer before, I'm gonna get back to that right now because I call that the summer of Skype. And at the time, that was the worst thing that I had ever gone through in my entire life. I'm gonna just speak as like a person who's can do nothing to help. You can only support and provide comfort and care. That's all that you can do when you're dealing with something that's destructive as cancer, and so hard to deal with and so hard to treat. And that summer when I was Skyping with her, that summer I just had to slowly watch my wife become more sick, and it was honestly wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, to be honest. And I thought that was that at that time that was the hardest thing that I'd ever gone through. And because I was here and I was usually alone, I had some of my family members came to see me. I had my friends. One of my friends came to see me during that time, and my mom, and you know, people came to see me, and people were checking in on me. Like I said, everybody needs support, especially when you're dealing with something as dramatic as breast cancer. Even early stage breast cancer is any type of cancer, any type of illness in your family where someone's unhealthy and you can't do anything. It's a disease that just requires treatment, and you hope for the best. That's the type of illness that my wife dealt with. And after the deep flap surgery, this is 2015 now. Honestly, they told us that she was cancer free. And then we just basically slowly but surely, my wife slowly started to, she was such a trooper, such a warrior, stronger than I'll ever be. She was so awesome. And she just recovered. She always recovered and just came back stronger than she was. And 2015 was not, it was great. I mean, we were starting to settle into the South. I mean, missing home a lot, typical moving, missing home and missing your friends and family, and always second guessing yourself whether it's the right choice to do, or did we make the right move, or is this the best thing for us? But honestly, it didn't take long for us to be convinced, because our kids adjusted so quickly, and really loved it here, loved the move, loved the area, loved the schools, loved everything about it. And that made the transition to the South a lot easier for us as a family, because honestly, there was a lot of times when me and my wife wanted to move back up north, but it wasn't the right move for our kids. And ultimately, me and my wife have always, we always will, I always will now, but we always did as a couple. It was always our kids first. And we sacrificed a lot of, my wife sacrificed her career for our children, and honestly, we do it again. It was the right move for us. It was the right move for our family. It was how we wanted to raise our children. And nothing good can be accomplished without sacrifice. And me and my wife were willing to sacrifice our own personal materialistic things, to provide a stable home for our children, where we were always available to them. My wife was an amazing mother, and the reason why my kids are so well adjusted and responsible. I mean, it was a team process, but I was working, honestly. through all the formative years, my wife was with my children 24/7, and the results speak for themselves. I mean, honestly, you'll get to meet my kids. I'll bring my kids on here. They all want to come on the podcast. They all want to speak about my wife. They all have a lot of friends and family. I'm hoping to get doctors and nurses, and I want to speak about treatment. I want to speak about alternative treatments. I have a lot of ideas on how to make this foundation great and how I can help people dealing with this relentless disease. It never stops. I've been saying, I'll say this, you're going to hear me say this 100 times on this podcast. My wife dealt with more pain in one day than I deal with an entire year. And that was for years on end, days on end, weeks on end. It never stops. In 2015, 2016 was great. Even 2017, we were slowly starting to turn things around. My wife was working. I was working. I had a good job. I had a great job. The first company that I worked for when I moved here, honestly, I can't thank that family enough. They did a lot for me when I moved here. They made it possible for me to move here. And honestly, they were great. Great family. And they made the transition to the South bearable for me, even when my wife was going through the worst of times. When my family was, when we were going through the worst of times, they made it so it was bearable to be here. And they're the reason why I was able to move my family here. Honestly, with the support that they gave me, let me take time off to go see my wife. They were understanding. They were so graceful through the whole thing. And I can never repay them for that, honestly. So moving on to 2018 is when I decided to start my own business. And what happened was I was approached by somebody to start a construction company. And it was always a dream of mine to have a construction company. My family everybody was healthy, everybody was happy. My wife was going through some stomach pains at the time. This is 2018. I'm going to elaborate on that in a future podcast. But needless to say, she was having some symptoms that they were trying to figure out what was wrong with her. And honestly, she should have gotten diagnosed a lot sooner than when she was. But I'll get into that a little more in future podcasts. But honestly, 2018 was not that bad of a year. Short of Maryland dealing with stomach problems, having to go to the doctor and all kind of testing and different prescriptions, and they didn't know what was wrong with her. And well, we found out what was wrong with her beginning of 2019. Honestly, January 10th, 2019, I'll never forget it. That's when she got re-diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And yeah, that was a bad day. That was a bad day because we always know she was always the type of cancer that she had. The doctors always told us that if it ever comes back, she had that type of cancer that it was relentless. It was aggressive and it was smart. And it outsmarted every oncologist that we ever spoke to. And it outsmarted Big Pharma and it outsmarted everybody. And my wife lost her life because of it. And my kids, they lost their mom, and there's a lot of people dealing with what I'm dealing with now. And honestly, I'm not sure that they all have support. And I don't know if I would have made it through this without the support that I had. And I'm not through it yet. I got a long way to go. It doesn't end when, your significant other loses their battle. When people are dealing with what my family's dealing with, A little extra support goes a long way. Trust me. You'll never know how much it helps. You'll never know how much that little bit of ease of stress can change somebody's day, change somebody's outlook on things, and maybe change somebody's prognosis a little bit. So that's the reason for this podcast. That's the reason for the foundation that I've created. Please check out the foundation, the MarylandMarinaFoundation.org. The website is up and running. It's live. The Live for Life podcast was created to benefit the Maryland Marina Foundation, to spread awareness, to bring awareness to what people are dealing with, what families deal with. And just like and subscribe to this podcast. Check us out on all social media. We're going to be on Facebook. We're going to be on YouTube. We're going to be on TikTok. I'm trying to generate some word of mouth here. I need to create a buzz. I need to start to help people have a better quality of life while dealing with metastatic breast cancer. And that's what the foundation is all about. So check us out. Please, anything that you can do to help me help some people, I would appreciate it.